Hey everyone, it's Kelly. I'm back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook process video for Pretty Little Studio. And I'm going to start today's video with a Cricut Design Space tutorial. Now the very first part of this video is going to start out in Inkscape. Inkscape is a free downloadable program that you can find online. And I wanted to create an offset or an outline of this cut file that I'm going to be using, which is a cut file from the Pretty Little Studio shop. And Cricut doesn't offer that availability. That's not something that you can do in their Design Space program. You can't create an offset or an outline or a shadow image. So you have to use Inkscape in order to do that. There are a couple other workarounds. If you search on YouTube, you can find those, but I found this to be the easiest way to do it. So I am going to show you that today. So as you can see, the Inkscape program is open on my desktop, and I have just went to open the cut file. So you just need to go over to File, Open, and then find the cut file you're wanting to use. The screen will come up, you just click OK, and then you'll see your cut file image. If you use the plus and minus symbols on your keyboard, that will zoom in and zoom out. So I just click the minus a couple times to zoom out. Next, I'm going to go to Trace Bitmap, and then you're just going to click OK on this next screen that comes up, and you're going to see that it basically duplicates the image. You want to go ahead and erase the image that is underneath, and then you can drag this back over. Now, I do want to say this was the very first time that I've had this happen. I had to hold down, I believe it was the Shift key when I wanted to select the image, and then I think I had to hold down the Alt key to move it. So if you're having a hard time moving your image around on the screen, look on the bottom portion of the screen, kind of next to the scroll bar, and it gives you instructions on what you need to do to move the object and select the object. So then you're going to go back up to Path, which is where I selected the Trace Bitmap. And then you're going to go down to the linked offset. And when you do that, you're going to see this little node pop up on the screen. And when I say node, what that is that little diamond shape that's up on the top right-hand side of the cut file. I'm kind of circling my mouse with it right now. That is going to be what you're going to click on to drag to create the offset. So to make this a little bit easier to see, I'm going to go down to that color panel on the bottom of the screen and select it to change the outline to red or the offset to red. And then I'm going to grab that diamond shape and I'm going to drag up. And as I drag up, you can see that the red line is getting larger. And when I drag down, the red line is getting smaller. Now you want to keep in mind that the red portion is the portion that you're going to be uploading into Cricut Design Space. So you want to make sure that it's thick enough that it will cut well when you send it through the machine. So it's totally personal preference. I played with it a few different times, made it a little bit thicker, made it a little bit thinner, and just decided on the one that I liked best. So when you have that to the thickness that you want, you're going to drag a box around both of those images, and then you're going to go back up to Path and you're going to select Difference. Difference is very similar to the slice feature in Cricut Design Space. You can see that it sent the black portion through that red portion and left me with just an outline, and that is all I'm wanting. I just want to cut the outline for this image that I'm using today. So then you're going to save it. So I saved it as the name of the cut file and just added the word outline to it. Okay, so now I am in Design Space and I'm going to upload this just like I would a normal cut file. So I'm going to go to Upload, select Browse, and then I'm going to find where it was saved on my computer. Now, when you save from Inkscape, it saves the image with the Inkscape logo. So that is the image that I created in Inkscape. It does not show you a preview picture like a PNG or a JPEG would. It will upload in Design Space just like a SVG would. I'm going to go ahead and add my tags, and then I'm going to go down and click Save. Then once it is saved, I am going to select it, and then I'm going to bring it into Design Space. There you can see that I played with the thicknesses. It will save as a red outline because that was the color that I chose in Inkscape, but it will cut just fine. I know a lot of the cut files that we use are black lines, but that makes no difference whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and insert my photo memories template so that way I can get the butterfly sized to my liking. And I am going to use multiple butterflies on my layout today. I'm actually going to create a vertical design, and I'm going to have these butterflies going up the center of the page. So I'm going to work on getting these butterflies sized. I'm just using that arrow in the bottom right hand corner and just dragging it to make the butterflies larger and smaller, just depending on how I want them to be. I am going to create butterflies going up the center of the page, and they're going to be larger towards the bottom and they get smaller as they work their way up to the top. And I'm just right clicking and duplicating those and then just shrinking them and making them larger, just depending on what size they need to be. Now I know that I haven't even touched the surface on what Inkscape is capable of, but I will link to a channel. I believe the channel's name is TroyTube. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it up in front of me right at this moment, but I will link to it in the description box below. But he does a lot of Inkscape tutorials and he is very thorough, very easy to follow. So I definitely recommend that you check out his channel if you're interested in seeing what all Inkscape is capable of, to see if it's something that you are interested in downloading. Like I said, it's a free download, so you don't have to commit to anything. If you don't like it, you just delete it off your computer. But I have found it very useful, and I do use it for some things with the cut files. I don't use it a whole lot. That's why I say that I know that I haven't even touched the surface on what it is capable of. But I definitely recommend that you check out his channel. There are a lot of great ideas and a lot of great tutorials there. Okay, so now I have the butterflies sized, but I've inserted a 4x4 square because that's the size of my photo. So I need to see how large I want these butterflies really to be. I do plan on having them run off the page, so I'm not worried that they all don't fit in the 12x12 box that I have on the background. Now I also want to cut out a solid of these butterflies in pattern paper. I plan on cutting the outline in white, and then I want to place the outline on pattern papers. So I'm going to go down to the contour feature. Actually, I duplicated all those butterflies first just by dragging a box around them and then selecting duplicate, and it gave me the same exact size that I have of the outline. And then I went down to the bottom right hand corner and selected contour, and now I'm just going through and clicking either on the center of the butterfly or clicking the hide all button that's on the bottom right hand corner to make those butterflies all a solid shape. So once I have those turned into a solid shape, I'm going to change the color of each of those solid butterflies, and I'm just going on the top and clicking on that little square that has the color in it, and then I'm just picking a random color. And the reason that you do that is for each color that you have on the design screen, that lets your Cricut know that you're going to be loading a separate mat. So I'm going to be using multiple pattern papers to cut these butterflies. So for each color is going to represent a different pattern paper. So you'll see once I send them to the cutting mat, you'll see that there are multiple mats for me to choose from. So I'm going to be using 5 different pattern papers. So I selected 5 different colors, and then I'm just going over to the color sync tab, which is right underneath the make it button on the top right hand side of the screen. And then I'm just dragging the remaining red butterflies into the color section that I'm wanting. So that way they will cut on the correct mat with the correct pattern paper. So once I have all the correct colors chosen, I'm going to hit the make it button, and then you'll see all of my cutting mats here. Now, one thing that I do need to keep in mind is all of the solid butterflies that are going to be cut on pattern paper, I only have the 8x8 pattern papers, so I need to make sure that the butterflies are all positioned on the mats correctly. Like this one was too far to the right, so I'm just going to click it and drag it and move it, so that way I know that it will fit on the size of paper that I will have on my cutting mat. Okay, so now on to the scrapbooking portion of this process video. So this is the photo that I'm going to be using today, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on in the video. Here you can see the white outline that I cut and then the solid shape that I cut also. And I went ahead and I started adhering some of them together. I'm just adhering the antenna part and then the bottom portion of the butterfly onto the pattern paper to start. And then I will adhere just the very center tip of the wings onto the pattern papers also. I wanted the top and the bottom portion of the wings to kind of be able to lift off the pattern paper just for some added dimension. And I tried to use as little glue as possible, but even with the little bit of glue, there was a little bit that was kind of seeping out. So I just had a paper towel nearby and to dab up any extra adhesive that was smushing out the sides when I was gluing those together. Now, some of these papers are cardstock, and then some of them are also vellum. If you're cutting vellum on your Cricut, you want to move your dial to the custom setting. And then when you do that on your computer, you'll see a pop-up come up and you can choose vellum. It cuts much better if you cut it on the correct setting. So just keep that in mind if you're cutting vellum. And then just a moment ago, you saw that I held the butterfly a little bit closer to the camera. I was just showing you that I did add some white machine stitching down the center of the butterfly, again, just for some added texture. I also like to leave the threads a little long when I do that on the top and the bottom of the butterfly. Again, just it's a texture thing. I just like how that looks. So I'm using the XOXO collection from Pretty Little Studio for my layout today, and I was a guest designer for them back in April and May of last year, I believe, and I used the XOXO collection during my guest design period. So I had quite a bit left over, and I love the colors. I still am swooning over this collection. That's how much I love it. I still was so excited to get to play with it again. So back when I was guest designing, they did not offer 12 by 12 pattern papers at that time. And when I say they, I mean Pretty Little Studio did not offer 12 by 12 pattern papers. So 8 by 8 was the largest size that I have. And I wanted to have a little bit of a design behind these butterflies. So I grabbed the stencil that I recently picked up at Tuesday Morning. It is a Heidi Swap stencil. It was one of her stamp stencil combos. And then I just took some light pink paint that I had in my stash, and I am just painting lines on the white cardstock. Now, I originally thought that I just wanted the lines offset. I thought that I wanted them to be just more on the left side of that 12 by 12 pattern paper. It's white cardstock on that 12 by 12 white cardstock. But when I put the butterflies back on and added my photo, I didn't like how it looked. It just felt really off. So I went ahead and grabbed the stencil and then some of that same pink paint, and I'm just making the lines a little bit longer. I'm just lining the stencil up with where I had already put the paint, and I am using very little paint on my paintbrush. I don't want the paint to seep underneath the stencil, so I'm picking up the paint and then dabbing a little bit off in that little tray that I have there, just to make sure that it's super small amount of paint on the paintbrush. I like how this looks much better. I feel like it looks a little bit more symmetrical and a little bit more even. Now I'm just going through what I have left of the XOXO collection, and I don't really have a whole lot left. I created 4 layouts with it, and then a traveler's notebook spread, or maybe it was 3 layouts and a traveler's notebook spread. I can't remember, but I used a lot of product. I am embellishment heavy when I scrapbook. I like to use a lot of embellishments, so I had used a lot of the die cuts. So I went through what I had left, and I love the florals in this collection, and I actually used an entire floral die cut pack when I was guest designer. And I have the floral acetate sheet, the floral vellum, and an 8 by 8 piece of paper that has those florals on them, but I am hoarding them so much that I was just cutting up the packaging there because I can't bring myself to use those papers just yet. So some of the packaging, I think it was the cover sheet for the 8 by 8 paper pad, had some of those florals on there. So that's what you saw me fussy cutting there. I was just going through and just fussy cutting a few florals out. I didn't really want to go too embellishment heavy with this layout because I wanted the butterflies to really stand out. So I'm just going to use a few of those fussy cut florals, and then I'm just going through a couple die cut packs to find a title to use. So the word spring that I chose is actually from a freebie pack that I received in one of my orders, and Pretty Little Studio always sends a pack of freebies when you place an order, or sometimes even multiple packs of freebies, and that happens to be a word from one of the freebies. And I had recorded the packaging to show you which freebies they were, but something happened to the file. I was in the middle of recording my voiceover, and it said that that portion of my video had been corrupted, so it deleted that portion. So sorry, I can't show you the pack that those came from. And the little word sentiments that I'm adding around the layout are also from that same die cut pack. The word happy is from a set of stickers, which you can kind of see peeking in on the left-hand side of the screen. That is from the Feels Like Fall collection, and they are just little white tile stickers, and I added that above the word spring. This photo is of my dog Cooper, and we were sitting outside last spring, and he loved the sunshine, and it was a nice warm spring day, and he has to get up in the hammock with me, so I let him climb up in the hammock with me. And Cooper has actually passed away just very recently, and I'm not quite ready to talk about that story just yet. I'm sure at some point I will document him and his life and what he meant to us and what he still means to us, but I'm just not quite there emotionally yet. So I'm adding a few of these pink hearts. Those were included in one of the die cut packs in the XOXO collection. And I did add some black splatters. And then I also printed off a few lines of journaling, just talking about how Cooper loved the sunshine and how we like to be in the hammock together and just that kind of thing. So here are the still shots. I will have links to all of the products that I used in my blog post, so I'll make sure to link to that in the description box below. If you have have any questions about any of the products, the techniques, or anything that I did in this layout, please feel free to leave a comment below. I am always happy to answer any questions. So I will be back again very soon with a new layout and process video. As always, thank you so much for watching.